The morning air was thick with anticipation as young men lined up along the barracks, each carrying the hopes of their families and the weight of duty. Among them was our central figure, a soldier in the prime of his youth, whose decision to join the army was driven by a mixture of patriotism, ambition, and the promise of honor. Life before the battlefield was shaped by discipline, routine, and a rigorous training regimen designed to transform civilians into soldiers capable of enduring unimaginable hardships. From dawn drills to weapons practice, every day was an exercise in endurance, resilience, and the cultivation of camaraderie. The sound of boots marching in perfect unison, the clang of swords in the training yard, and the stern voice of officers served as constant reminders that the comforts of civilian life were now a distant memory. The army itself was a microcosm of society, reflecting the hierarchies, rivalries, and loyalties of the wider world. Each soldier brought with him a personal story. Some sought glory, others escaped from poverty, while a few were motivated by familial duty. Understanding this context is crucial to grasping the emotional landscape of a soldier's life. Bonds were forged quickly, not merely through shared meals or quarters, but through the unspoken reliance on one another's strength and courage. Historical records show that the mental preparation for battle was just as important as the physical, with officers emphasizing endurance under stress, loyalty to comrades, and the moral fortitude required when facing life-and-death situations. Away from training grounds, the soldier's world was marked by a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Letters from home offered comfort, but also reminders of what was at stake. The anticipation of leaving for the front lines carried a dual weight: the excitement of serving a cause greater than oneself and the nagging fear of the unknown horrors of war. Tales of past battles, both triumphant and tragic, circulated among the ranks, creating an almost mythic understanding of warfare. These narratives instilled both courage and anxiety, painting vivid pictures of battlefield heroics, the strategies employed by generals, and the devastating consequences of defeat. Daily life in the barracks also reflected the harsh realities of military discipline. Punishments for minor infractions were strict, and the chain of command was absolute. Yet, within these constraints, soldiers found moments of levity and humanity, shared jokes, quiet conversations in the dim light of evening, and small acts of kindness that reminded them of life outside the army. These experiences shaped character, built resilience, and prepared them mentally for the challenges to come. Historical accounts suggest that soldiers who developed strong interpersonal bonds were far more likely to endure the emotional and physical strains of combat, highlighting the importance of human connection even amid strict military structures. As departure for the battlefield drew near, the emotional stakes became undeniable. Families offered blessings and prayers, officers issued final instructions, and the soldiers themselves wrestled with a mix of fear and determination. The transition from civilian life to the harsh realities of war was almost complete, and every young man understood that the coming days could define not only their own destinies but also the course of history. This delicate balance of optimism and apprehension, of personal ambition and collective duty, set the stage for the dramatic transformations that awaited each soldier. It is in this crucible of expectation, hope, and uncertainty that the story truly begins, laying the foundation for both historical insight and the deeply human journey that unfolds after a life-changing battlefield injury. The day of the battle dawned with an eerie stillness that belied the chaos to come. The soldier and his comrades moved in formation across the open field, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and resolve. Orders were shouted, flags waved, and the tension was almost palpable. The battlefield itself was a complex arena of strategy and danger, hills that offered vantage points, rivers that threatened to impede advance, and forests that could conceal enemy ambushes. Each decision carried immense weight, for one misstep could mean life or death. The historical context of this engagement was significant. It was not merely a skirmish but a crucial confrontation that could shift territorial control, influence political alliances, and shape the reputations of those who survived. As the first clash erupted, the thunder of artillery and the screams of men created a sensory overload. Soldiers scrambled to execute their training, ducking behind barriers, advancing under fire, and attempting to maintain cohesion despite chaos. Our central soldier experienced both the exhilaration and terror of combat simultaneously. Every movement was dictated by instinct honed during months of preparation, Yet the unpredictability of the battle reminded him that theory often failed in practice. Historical accounts of such engagements reveal that even the most disciplined units faced confusion, miscommunication, and sudden reversals that could turn victory into disaster in moments. Amid the cacophony, the soldier found himself in the thick of the fighting, witnessing acts of bravery and suffering alike. Comrades fell beside him, some calling out in pain, others urging continued advance. The emotional impact of seeing friends injured or killed was profound, creating a tension between duty and grief. The contrast between the disciplined training of the barracks and the brutal, unrelenting reality of combat was stark. Each maneuver, each decision, carried consequences not only for the individual but for the unit's survival and the battle's outcome. Historical narratives emphasize how such moments tested the character, courage, and resilience of soldiers, often revealing qualities that training alone could not instill. It was during a sudden, violent clash that the soldier sustained the injury that would forever change his life. A strike meant for survival tore through his limb, and in an instant, the world shifted from controlled strategy to raw survival. Pain and shock blurred his senses, yet the instinct to survive remained. Fellow soldiers rushed to assist, and medics fought against time and conditions to stabilize him. The historical reality of battlefield injuries during this era was harsh. Infections, lack of immediate care, and rudimentary medical techniques meant that survival itself was a victory. Yet in this moment, the soldier's personal experience, his fear, his anger, and his determination, humanizes the larger historical narrative, allowing audiences to connect deeply with the stakes of war. The battle raged on, its outcomes uncertain, but for our soldier, the injury marked a profound turning point. He had confronted the raw brutality of warfare, experienced the fragility of life, and encountered the limits of human endurance. The emotional weight of this moment, combined with the tactical and historical significance of the engagement, establishes both the dramatic and factual core of the story. As the smoke cleared and the wounded were carried away, the reality of the cost of battle became undeniable. The contrast between the glory of victory and the personal cost of survival left an indelible mark, setting the stage for the arduous journey of recovery, adaptation, and reflection that would define the rest of his life. The moments after the battle were a blur of pain, confusion, and urgency. The soldier, having lost a limb, was immediately swept into the chaotic world of battlefield medicine, a realm where survival often depended on both luck and the skill of the surgeons. Historical accounts reveal that amputations during this era were brutal and rapid procedures, designed to prevent infection and save lives rather than to preserve comfort. The soldier endured the shock of anesthesia that was rudimentary at best, the roaring pain of cutting, and the fear that accompanied the uncertainty of whether he would live. Each detail, the coarse linen of bandages, the antiseptic smells, the hurried voices of medics, immerses the audience in the harsh reality of historical battlefield medicine. Recovery began in a dim, crowded field hospital, far from the hope and familiarity of home. Infection was a constant threat, even minor complications could become fatal. The soldier grappled not only with physical agony but with a psychological storm. The loss of a limb was not simply a medical issue but an existential one, challenging his identity as a warrior and a man. Historical records show that soldiers often faced a profound struggle to reconcile their sense of duty and masculinity with the stark vulnerability imposed by such injuries. Each day of recovery was a battle in itself, filled with frustration, small victories, and the relentless monotony of convalescence. Amid the physical and emotional challenges, the soldier began to confront the long-term realities of life as an amputee. Prosthetics, though primitive, offered a glimmer of independence, and stories of fellow veterans who had adapted to similar injuries provided both hope and guidance. Medical innovations of the period, such as early iron and wooden prosthetics, were historically significant, representing the intersection of necessity, ingenuity, and the drive to restore function to injured soldiers. Yet even with these devices, daily life demanded patience, resilience, and courage. The soldier's internal struggle was mirrored in the historical narrative of countless others who had faced similar fates, emphasizing that personal stories were inseparable from the broader evolution of medical and military history. Psychological trauma added another layer of complexity. Memories of the battlefield, the chaos, the screams, The fear lingered long after the physical wounds began to heal. Sleep was often plagued by nightmares, and moments of solitude brought crushing reminders of what had been lost. The emotional contrast between the glory and excitement of pre-battle life and the harsh, painful reality of recovery created a compelling narrative tension, one that engages viewers on a deeply human level. Historical studies of veterans indicate that such psychological burdens were widespread, shaping not only personal trajectories but also influencing military and societal approaches to care and rehabilitation. Despite the hardships, the soldier gradually learned to navigate a new existence. Each small step toward independence, learning to walk with a prosthetic, regaining strength, re-establishing routines, was both a triumph and a testament to human resilience. The emotional highs of these victories were intertwined with moments of despair, creating a rhythm of struggle and perseverance that kept the audience invested. Through this intimate lens, viewers witness how a single battlefield injury ripples outward, affecting identity, community, and the broader understanding of the human cost of war. It is here, in this crucible of pain, adaptation, and courage, that the soldier's journey toward a transformed life begins in earnest. Life after the immediate recovery was a relentless test of resilience, adaptation, and courage. The soldier faced a world that had not paused for his injury. The routines of daily life, once taken for granted, now demanded effort, ingenuity, and determination. Prosthetic limbs, still rudimentary by modern standards, became both tools and symbols of his struggle. Early versions, often made of wood, iron, or leather, were heavy and uncomfortable, requiring constant adjustment and adaptation. Each attempt to walk, to lift, or to perform basic tasks brought pain and frustration, yet also small victories that slowly rebuilt confidence and independence. The historical development of these devices reflects the ingenuity of the era and the desperate need to restore functionality to soldiers whose lives had been irrevocably altered. Social attitudes compounded these challenges. Within the community and even among fellow soldiers, amputees were often met with pity, suspicion, or avoidance. Historical accounts highlight the stigma surrounding disabled veterans, whose physical losses were sometimes equated with weakness or failure. The soldier's internal struggle was mirrored externally, as he navigated a society unprepared to accommodate his new reality. Emotional highs, moments of self-reliance or recognition for bravery, were offset by the sting of judgment, the loneliness of isolation, and the daily reminder of what had been lost. These contrasting experiences created a dramatic tension that drove both personal growth and narrative engagement. Support networks proved essential. Comrades who had endured similar injuries, family members, and early forms of veterans organizations offered guidance, encouragement, and practical assistance. Historical records detail the emergence of hospitals, workshops, and pensions specifically for wounded soldiers, illustrating a societal shift toward acknowledging the human cost of warfare. The soldier's journey through rehabilitation, community reintegration, and learning to master a prosthetic device was as much a social challenge as a physical one. Each adaptation reflected not only personal determination but also broader historical trends in care, technology, and military culture. Despite the obstacles, moments of triumph punctuated the struggle. Successfully walking without assistance, returning to certain duties, or finding purpose in mentoring others became emotionally charged milestones. The psychological journey, from despair to resilience, from dependence to autonomy, was steep and uneven, yet profoundly human. The contrast between the glory of his pre-injury life and the painstaking process of rebuilding identity and capability emphasized the stakes of both body and spirit. Viewers are drawn into the tension, witnessing victories that feel earned and setbacks that resonate with authenticity. By embracing both innovation and community, the soldier began to reclaim agency over his life. Historical context enriches these experiences, demonstrating how societies have gradually evolved to recognize, support, and honor those who bear permanent scars of service. Each adaptation, each act of perseverance, served as a narrative bridge between past heroism and ongoing struggle, highlighting the emotional and historical depth of life after battlefield injury. Through this journey of adaptation, the story captures not only the physical challenges but also the profound human capacity for endurance, resilience, and reinvention in the face of profound loss. As the soldier continued to navigate life with his injury, the consequences of the battlefield extended far beyond the physical. The loss of a limb reshaped relationships, altered career paths, and forced him to confront limitations he had never imagined. Family members, once sources of support and pride, now struggled with their own fears and anxieties, unsure how to relate to a loved one who had returned changed. Friends from the barracks offered encouragement but were also grappling with their own post-war realities, leaving the soldier to find his place in a world that had moved forward without pause. The emotional tension of reconciling past identity with present limitations became a daily battle, mirroring the broader societal challenges faced by injured veterans throughout history. Financial hardship compounded the struggle. While some armies and governments provided pensions or stipends for wounded soldiers, these measures were often insufficient or inconsistently distributed. The soldier had to navigate bureaucratic systems, petition for aid, and sometimes take on work that tested both physical endurance and personal pride. Historical accounts reveal that economic pressures were a constant source of stress for veterans, influencing social standing and personal well-being. Each victory in securing resources was tempered by the frustration of navigating institutions that were slow to recognize the full impact of war injuries. Social stigma remained a persistent challenge. Amputees were often viewed through a lens of pity or assumed incapacity, and the soldier had to confront these perceptions while building a new sense of self-worth. Community gatherings, workplaces, and even casual encounters became arenas for subtle judgment, testing his resilience and patience. Historical examples highlight how disabled soldiers had to assert competence, courage, and dignity repeatedly, ensuring that their contributions and sacrifices were not erased by prejudice. These moments of tension, frustration, and triumph provide both emotional engagement and historical insight, showing how personal experience intersects with societal attitudes. Amid these challenges, the soldier discovered unexpected opportunities for influence and legacy. Mentoring younger recruits, advocating for improvements in medical care, or sharing personal stories of endurance allowed him to transform adversity into purpose. The emotional highs of helping others, earning respect, and witnessing change reinforced resilience and offered a sense of continuity between past heroism and present struggle. These experiences emphasized that survival was not merely about living but about shaping meaning, community, and historical memory. Ultimately, life after injury was a complex interplay of hardship, adaptation, and emerging strength. The soldier's journey illustrated the multifaceted cost of war, encompassing physical suffering, emotional turbulence, social navigation, and financial strain. Each challenge faced, each small triumph earned, added depth to his personal story and contributed to the broader historical narrative of how societies have recognized, neglected, and ultimately learned to support those who bear the scars of battle. Through resilience, perseverance, and the pursuit of purpose, the soldier forged a life that honored both his past courage and his present determination. In the quiet years that followed, the soldier's life became a testament to resilience, adaptation, and reflection. The immediate chaos of battle and the acute pain of injury had faded, but the memories remained vivid, shaping his identity and perspective. Historical records of amputees reveal that many wrestled with similar lifelong adjustments, balancing pride in survival with the emotional scars left by loss. The soldier's daily routines, learning to move with a prosthetic, managing physical limitations, and navigating social perceptions, became acts of courage in themselves, demonstrating that heroism extended far beyond the battlefield. Each step, each challenge overcome, was both a personal triumph and a reflection of the broader evolution of care, technology, and societal recognition for wounded veterans. Legacy became a central focus. The soldier's experiences, once intensely private, gradually informed efforts to educate others about the realities of war. Sharing his story with younger recruits, community members, or family allowed him to shape perceptions, inspire resilience, and advocate for improvements in medical care, prosthetics, and veteran support systems. Historical context highlights how the voices of those who survived injury influenced both policy and culture, contributing to early forms of social awareness and institutional change. His personal journey became intertwined with the collective memory of those who had fought, suffered, and adapted, providing a bridge between individual experience and historical understanding. Emotionally, this period was marked by contrasts. Pride and accomplishment coexisted with lingering grief and longing for a life that had once been whole. Moments of joy, reuniting with family, participating in community events, achieving milestones of independence, were deepened by the shadows of what had been lost. The soldier's story exemplifies the tension between hope and despair, triumph and tragedy, illustrating the enduring human capacity to find meaning and purpose despite profound adversity. These emotional layers create a compelling narrative that engages viewers, allowing them to connect empathetically with the lived realities of historical military life. As he looked back, the soldier's reflections underscored broader lessons about courage, resilience, and the human cost of war. His experiences illuminate the challenges faced by countless others across history, reminding audiences that survival is only one aspect of the soldier's journey. The lasting impact of injury, the fight for dignity, and the pursuit of purpose form a continuum that extends beyond the battlefield into the very fabric of society. By sharing his story, the soldier ensured that the sacrifices, struggles, and triumphs of wounded warriors would not be forgotten, leaving an enduring legacy that resonates across generations.